Hello, everyone. This time I'm going to do the little intro. Usually Jamie does, but
Usually I do. We'll mix it up today.
we're mixing it up. How are you, Jame?
I am great. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. We get to interview a good friend today, and I love her story so much.
Her story's incredible. Her art is incredible. Who are we interviewing today, Laura?
My good friend Carrie Schmitt, who I have had the honor of teaching at a couple of her retreats, which have been just amazing and beautiful experiences. And she's such a beautiful soul, and she's devoted to creativity, which I love about her. In fact, we write letters to creativity at her retreats, and they're just so beautiful.
That's
And she has a
amazing.
new book that we're going to talk about. So, hi, Carrie.
Hi,
Hi.
Carrie.
Hello. Thank
Hi.
you for having me.
Thank you. Carrie, where is home
I
for
live in
you?
Steilacoom, Washington, and Steilacoom means little pink flower, which, if you know my story, that
Oh
is
my gosh.
perfect.
Did you
Oh,
pick it because of that?
No, I didn't even know until after I moved here. So you can imagine I freaked out
Wow. Of
because
course.
pink flowers are kind of my thing and my grandmother's thing. And I had a bus. It was a mobile art studio I painted pink flowers all over it. It's just a major theme in my life. So actually,
wow.
somebody on Instagram commented, "Did you know that means little pink flower?" And I freaked out. I cried. I was just like,
Oh,
I was meant to be here.
wow.
How
Yeah.
Wow.
about that? How about that? Well, let's start from the beginning. Let's kind of go backward a little bit and tell us about your art journey and how you got started.
Oh my goodness.
That's a
So it
big
started.
story.
It is a big
Get
story.
ready, everyone. It's a good one.
Yeah. It started in darkness and despair. And I don't know, I might not be unique in that. I think a lot of us find creativity and art at low moments. Basically, I developed a life threatening allergy to heat, all forms of heat, including my own body heat. And I was in my early 30s. I was a very active, athletic mom, always taking my kids swimming and outside and playing. And suddenly I couldn't move my body. I was bedridden. I would go into anaphylactic shock if I walked up and down the stairs or if I tried to sweep the floor. So I was basically, I describe it as I died, but I was still here. Like I had this like physical death, but I was still here to mourn myself, and no one else understood what I was going through. And so I was severely depressed. I thought I might be dying because I'm allergic to myself and I'm allergic to the air. I was like, am I just going to die now? And so it was scary. And I began to think, I can't be a vegetable. I cannot be like this for 50 years. This cannot be my life. So I actually had like suicidal thoughts. I mean, it got really dark.
Yeah.
And one day I heard a voice say, now that your life is over, you might as well do what you want and paint. And I was like, I didn't even know I wanted to paint, but I was so desperate. I listened and I felt this sort of presence in the room with me. And from that moment when I heard that, I always felt that with me. And I felt that it just held me and nurtured me in a way that no human could comfort me. Like my family tried, but it was just what I now know is like I call it creative spirit. Um, it was just sort of this angelic presence and it held me and comforted me. And I started painting in bed and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about painting. But I just found that it was an escape. Like I would paint and hours would go by and when I was finished, I would look around and be like, oh my gosh, I'm still in bed. It just took me to this other place. And I began to get excited. I could not wait to wake up in the morning and start painting. And I'd lay in bed at night and like think about it. And so I went from like despair to just almost like bliss. And I just, it was so kind to me. And then I always say it never judged me, it never criticized me. And so I vowed to, for the rest of my life, like spread the word of creativity's true love for us and kindness. And I just promised I would never judge you. I will never disrespect you or be unkind to you because you've never treated me that way. In fact, you saved my life. And I know now that creativity has saved many lives. And um, so it just became my beloved. And then my life's goal is just to spread the truth of its love. And I would say I took a vow to restore it to its rightful place in our hearts and lives. And it's kind of a big promise. But that's kind of been my life's work ever since, is just to sing its praises and its
Wow.
truth.
Wow.
Can you, I don't think I know this part of your story, but and we'll come back to this again, but was creativity, art, drawing, all of those things present in your life prior to this allergy that you discovered?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Lori. I grew up, my parents are so creative. My mom is still the most creative person I've ever met. Although, Lori, you may be in the running for
Always
that.
pretty up there.
um, but yes, both my parents are so creative in every aspect of their life. Every day, they're just bursting with creativity. I had a beautiful childhood. Um, my friends say I was raised by two golden retrievers. I mean, they're just like the most delightful people. My mom was a teacher, and she would they mummified chickens, and she would turn her whole, her classroom into a Renaissance castle. I mean, so I had but what happened is they thought those things were like fun to incorporate into your everyday life, but I wanted to actually major in art, and my parents kind of nixed it. And so I majored in English instead, which I don't know, it's not that far from art, but I did shut down that part of myself. And then I always say, like, all hell broke loose. The minute I disassociated and disconnected from my creativity, that's when my life got really difficult and painful. I had a tumultuous teens and 20s, and very unhealthy, very destructive. And it wasn't until I think I found my creativity again that I also found my wellness and started to learn how to, love myself and respect myself. And I wanted to take care of myself because that is a way to serve my creativity. I think when you love your creativity, you become this temple or this home for it. And then you start to know that you matter, and that I want to eat right, and I want to go to bed early, and I don't do things that would hurt my creativity. So it's a powerful way to live. But yeah, I had creativity, I lost it, and then I got really sick and I found it again. So
Wow. It's, I mean, what a story and what a journey. And, it's interesting, Carrie, because we've had many guests who've said exactly the same thing, that, mom and dad said, get a real job, go to
mhm.
college and, go into business, go into this. And you're right. Being an English major, they probably thought you were going to go to law school or something. That was probably the idea. But, many of our guests have shut down that creativity. And like you, I had a period of time, I started on my journey taking a random class with nurses in crisis. I wasn't a nurse, I wasn't in crisis, but then there were many times but then I kind of leaned into creativity. And then when my
Mhm.
life was in crisis, I had that foundation of creativity that I had built that I could hold on to. And you're right, no judgment. It was just doing it it was that release that I needed. It was the love that I needed. It was just, it's like breathing to me. And I must have it every day.
Mhm.
And, but I can't, I, I guess I'm going back to your illness. Like, it's
Mhm.
just, you're better now. Can we just say that you're better? Are you better now?
I still have it. I'm just really good at managing it, and
Okay.
it flares up kind of like some chronic conditions. Like, sometimes I'll be really sensitive to it. I did move to the Pacific Northwest because of this. I lived in Ohio. I was close to Lori.
Yeah, you were.
Too hot for me, too humid. So I can manage it, but I'm very limited in what I can do. And it's a daily struggle, daily frustration. And even more than the physical difficulty is the emotional
Yeah.
difficulty. So I return to my creativity's loving embrace every single day. It is the only thing that I think is, you know, eh, providing that solace that I need and comfort. And I talk about this in the book. My creativity is like my medicine. So Lori knows I wear really colorful clothing, and I decorate my home almost like a child. And it's like, this is my medicine. This is the only way I know to cope with that. And sometimes when I see people that are really tuned into joy or really expressive, I think, maybe they have something that they too are struggling with, because it's
Mhm.
often those people that you see that are overly joyful. It's like, I have to do this because I'm always aware that there's this like current of despair that is like pulling me down. And if I don't actively create beauty and joy, it's going to pull me under. And sometimes it does. I still have dark moments, and that's why I feel like I'm running into creativity's arms every time. I'm like, I'm going to go create something beautiful and joyful, and that is my best medicine for me, because there's really nothing they can do for this. So yeah, it's just again and again, I'm always returning to its love. And I have sad moments. I was at a retreat and everyone was dancing, and I overheated, and I got really sad because I can't participate. And so I just like redirect my attention to like, okay, what can I make now? Like, I'm going to go find my paint. And like, it's just this constant redirecting. And then they all went on this hike and it was too hot, and I tried to go and I couldn't do it. I had to leave. And so again, I'm like, turn in the direction of your creativity and go find something beautiful to do and play. And so I've gotten really good at redirecting myself, but it is always creativity. It saves me. And that's why I will, like, for the rest of my life, sing its praises, and why I wrote my book. I want others to know that this is also for them,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be an artist. It can be anything, like any part of your life, any moment. You can do a funny dance, or make up a funny, poem or whatever. It's just like little things that can save. I feel like it saves me a lot.
This book, can you tell the title and the subtitle?
Yeah, it's called Awakening Creativity: A Sacred Journey to Reclaim Your Inner Artist.
And it's so perfect that you wrote this book.
Yeah.
And can you talk about the process of writing it, and like how long it took you to do
Yeah.
it? And because I feel like words, when you speak about creativity, I feel like the words just flow through you. And you're
Oh,
such a beautiful writer.
thank
So
you.
how did the book and the idea and all of that come together?
Well, I hope this is a story of hope for anyone who wants to write a book. I actually wrote down all these thoughts, like, during the pandemic, so 2020. They flowed out of me, but I didn't know how to, put it into a book form. And so I sat with it and held it until I met my editor, Hillary Smith. I took a class with her, and then we started working together. And with her help, I was able to actually, package it into something more, I don't know, digestible for readers. And so I think for me, the lesson from that was like, get help when you need it, like, if you can't. I didn't have a lot of faith that I could do it, but I had total faith in Hillary. So sometimes, if you're not quite there yet, it's like, find someone you do have faith in that can like carry you through this. And she really was like an angel for me. So yeah, I mean, it took about a year working with her, and it was just really. I would never do it alone. We're Hillary and I are going to work on another book, and I told Ted, like, she can do anything. Like, I feel like with her, like, so it's like we don't always have to work alone. I think as artists too, it's important to remember, like, get help if you need help, And so yeah, it was a really fun project. The book is a creative pilgrimage. So it's sort of a return to the spiritual and soulful aspect of creativity, with all its healing modalities. And the I think the difference between this book and many others is that I capitalized creativity as a living presence that's within us all. And also, we're swimming in it, we're surrounded by it, it's in everything. It is the unifying thread that connects us to each other. And so the book is not about getting better at making art. It's about getting closer to your creativity, to your creative spirit, like that living presence inside of you. And I know, when we live from this place, the world becomes magical and playful and joyful. It is the source of our power and our joy. And so to actually like tend to that and have that grow and start to let that be your guide, it is a magical and powerful way to live, and I know you know.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Well, I see it in our grandsons. They can be acting out or, whatever, doing what little boys do. And as soon as I pull out a creative project and they're totally immersed in it and
Mhm.
they're giggling and playing and just making with no judgment,
Mhm.
it is truly magical to watch.
It really
And
is.
sometimes kids, we that gets taken away from us
Yeah,
along the way.
it does.
Little critical statements that somebody might make to you about,
Mhm.
you're not an artist or whatever, or you're not creative, or people say it about themselves all the
Mhm.
time. Like when I teach retreats, a lot of women will say, "Well, I'm not an artist." And I'm like, "Well, yes, you are."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I believe that. And it's practice and it's passion.
And it's finding that creative outlet. And, Laura, you and I have had this conversation many a times. I mean, sometimes it's starting something, trying it. Do you like it? Don't you like it? But it's just finding the creative path that's right for you, whether it's cooking, dancing, art, music, whatever it may be. And like you, Carrie, I certainly believe that creativity has saved my life.
Mhm.
And we've had a very difficult journey, my husband and my family and myself, and we lost our daughter. And I had a pivot point after that. I thought, okay, well, the one thing that has been a constant in my life for the past 10 years had been my photography, my flowers, my creativity. And I was like, well, do I just give this up? Do I just stop? And I thought, wait a minute. That's the one thing that brings me joy. That's the one
Mhm.
thing that I can hold on to, that I can escape and really ground myself.
Mhm.
And I don't know what strength I had in the very beginning to say yes to that, but I did. And I'm so glad that I did, because it has proven to again be, to your point, it's my hope, it's my joy, it's the thing that gets me up in the morning.
Yeah.
And when you don't think you can get out of bed, and that's the thing. I mean, people are like, oh, you need to exercise 20 minutes a day, you need to do this. You need to be creative every day, you need to let
Yeah.
your heart soar every day,
Yes.
let it just shine, let it, whatever it may be, and do something just for you, because I think it's a gift to yourself, it's a gift to others. It's just so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're really prescriptive with life. Like we always are, telling people they have to do this in the morning. And in my book, I talk about a morning menu. And so, I know people like the morning pages. Some people do from the artist way, but I like a little variety. And I'm a different person every morning. And so, depending on my mood or how much I slept or how much time I have, like I want or how my body feels. Like maybe I do need to, move or walk or do yoga, but other days maybe I want to, read a devotional poem or, I don't know, sing to the water. It's just like so we make these menus of and you start with a central question and it's like my question is what will awaken my creative spirit today? But you can make up your own question and then you ask this every morning and then you listen to yourself, and what do I need to awaken this part of me that is my joy and my creativity, and then you just like pick from your menu what sounds delicious that morning and do that thing. So yeah, I think it's about knowing yourself and listening to that part of you that I call creative spirit, and then just like tending to that and letting it grow and grow until that's your center of your life.
I know, I'm sure it's very personal, the menu for everyone, but what are some of the things on your menu in the morning that
Trying to
you
think.
go to?
And
Yeah,
I love
okay.
that
I
idea,
love
the
that idea.
It's
menu.
so
Yeah.
fun to make them
Yeah.
too, and Ted is making one, and it's like so let me think. Well, I sing a lot. Singing's very important to me, so sometimes it's just playing. I have a little harmonium, which is almost like a piano, and so I'll sing. Sometimes it is dancing or, sending like I send my son a joke. Just, it just depends on like what do I need. We have weekend specials on our menu, so like things that we really only have time for on the weekend, like paddleboarding at sunrise or taking our kids to the bakery. And that might not sound creative, but it is to me because it nourishes my spirit. It lights me up. So I'm always aware of like what is bringing me joy, and that is my joy, it awakens my creativity. And of course, everything we do, we try to infuse creativity into. So when we're together with them, we're playing games or anything like that. But the thing I love about it, it's right over there, and I'm like, what else did I write on there? I mean, it could be like blowing bubbles, or
Yeah.
like it just whatever brings you joy. But yeah, it's fun because it's not someone else's idea of what you should do in the morning. And like me, I am a different person every morning. So I'm like, what needs tending today? And I love devotional poetry. So starting a day with a reading is just it's so grounding to me. For
Yeah.
some people, it would just be like doing some breathing, or, Ted's is like going to watch the birds. Like that nurtures his spirit. And, for people that maybe are in a dark time, and I have been at points where I'm just too like jittery or agitated and I can't settle down. If something's going on in your life, but I can't create, I can't go paint. It's like, then I'm like surrounding myself with beauty. That's when I'm watching plays, or going to a museum, or, listening to something beautiful, or reading poetry. Like you don't always have to be in that creative mode. You can be receiving it as well. So it's always about like listening and getting to know this part of yourself. And I have to say, in the book I mentioned, a lot of famous people have a morning question. And Salvador Dali, the surrealist painter, his was something like, every morning I wake up and I think, what prodigious thing will this Salvador Dali do today? And I just love that he's like, he's so confident, and like, I wonder what, and just to be like in awe of himself, which is very confident. But I just thought, how fun is that to just have a question and write it on your menu, and then, order like you're at a restaurant. So anyway, I think
I
that it's
love
really,
that.
yeah.
I love this so much. So when sometimes Kenzie and I will have these conversations, and she'll be overwhelmed by being a young mom and
Yes.
working and social media and all the things, and she'll say, I'm in a funk. And for me too, when I get in that mood, I'm like, well, where can I go on a field trip? Where can I take myself, like a favorite coffee shop,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
Crone Conservatory, and look at plants, or take a walk. Or so I love taking field trips when I'm in that mood where it's just kind of, you just can't connect with
Yeah.
creativity, but then you take yourself out of your norm, and then
Mhm.
something sparks.
I love that too. I think shifting energy by just moving your body, going somewhere new, and for me that is important too, because I work at home, and sometimes I'm like, I just need to go to the coffee shop. I just need a change of scenery. But yeah, I take this book is designed as a creative pilgrimage, so you're definitely encouraged to take these like monthly pilgrimages to somewhere maybe sacred to you. Like, that could be a spot you loved as a child, or a natural environment. Those are always so helpful. But yes, I love that idea and that reminder. Just, I think creativity likes change and shifting, and if you feel stagnant, yeah, go somewhere new.
Sometimes I think you just need to, as you said, to get out and breathe the fresh air. This past
Mhm.
week, I was having a real stressful day, and I'm like, I was getting real angry, and I was upset about something. And my friend said, "Come on, let's go for a walk." And I was like, "I'm not going to go." But and I thought, "No, go." It was I mean, gorgeous for end of October in Ohio. See, I'm in
Yeah.
Ohio too, and but it's it was like 60 degrees and the sun was shining. And I'll tell you
Mhm.
what, an hour out for a walk, and you came back, and I was not as agitated, and
Yeah.
it took the temperature down. And I think this book is such a lovely thing, because I think we're often looking for those windows into hope. And sometimes we don't think of our own creative self as that window that you can look through and you can find it. I mean, yes, breathing, meditation, all of those things, but creativity is that too. And it really helps your soul. And
Yeah.
it's a gift to your soul for sure.
Yeah, I think creativity is so much bigger than just what we make it. If we think we have to be painting or in our studio, it's like it's so much bigger than that, and it wants to be so much bigger that it wants to play with us all the time. And so anything we do outside of our studios that, enhances that relationship, it makes it so much more fun when you actually sit down to intentionally create something. You're already in this beautiful relationship. You've awakened all these qualities within you, play and joy, and then you're ready to create, and you're already connected with that part of yourself. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's
Well,
important.
I watched you through social media for years before we actually met, and what I always admired is I could see that you would come up with these really fun ideas, and you would do them. Like, you painted a bus, and you wrote a children's book, and A lot of people might have those ideas, but they don't always follow through. But I think you're really good at that. And you've actually built your business around creativity, which is beautiful. So
Yeah.
can you talk just about like what you're doing now these days?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the reasons my business has looked like that is because I feel like when you know your devotion, when you have that sort of anchor or North Star and everything you do revolves around your devotion, that becomes a really clear path for you. All my decisions are made, does this serve my creative spirit? That's the question I'm asking. I mean, you can ask whatever question you want, like, is this going to make me money or whatever? But it looks a little wild and crazy, but I do talk about that too in my book. It's like, devotion is the great clarifier in my life, and when your heart is organized, that you have energy for that thing. And it also distills all the non-essential parts, like I say, it doesn't sound like freedom because it's rooted in the word sacrifice, but it's freedom from everything that is not your devotion. And so it's a really powerful way to live. And I tell this story. I'll just tell you this quickly, and then I'll tell you what I'm doing. There's a saint in India named Kroli Baba, and when they opened his journals after he passed, there was only one word written in his journals over and over and over, thousands and thousands of times over many, many decades. And it was Ram, 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 Ram. And that means that's one of their deities. It's one of their gods. And I was like, and that is actually a practice in India to do that. And I'm like, what would my one word be? Like, if you were going to write one word in your journal for the rest of your life and you can only pick one word, what would that be? And that is your devotion, And so it's like
Mm.
my word is simplified to Ma, MAA, which is the creative energy of the universe. It's the divine feminine creative energy. So that is what I serve, and that's my reminder. It's my little short mantra of like, if I'm getting off course, it like brings me back to my devotion, back to my center. So when I need to make a decision for my business, does this serve my creative spirit? And so yes, what I'm doing now, I'm this book is sort of
Yeah.
the center of my life and my devotion. And again, it's really nice to have something to something to focus on. So I'm creating a lot of offerings now that are inspired from the book. So a 10-month creative pilgrimage online, and it ends with an in-person retreat. And we'll take a pilgrimage to the first one is in Santa Fe, so Georgia O'Keeffe's Ghost Ranch, her
Mm.
home. So that's kind of what I'm up to now. I have devoted my life to this. I want to be a voice for creativity. That's my ultimate goal. And because I want to shift our view of creativity on a cultural scale. Like when we talk about the mantra, our dominating mantra in this culture is "I am not creative." Everyone says it. I mean, it's and these are all just cultural myths because they disempower us and they distance us from our creativity. And it's not on accident. Our creativity is our source of power. It's our source of joy. It's our source of beauty. It's our source of hope. A lot of industries would crash if we all, were fully embodied in our creativity. We would not need to consume all the things we're consuming. We're creators. Um, and when you live this, you're so fulfilled, you don't need all those other things, that people are always telling us you need. Um, and we become more independent. We know how to make our own fun. We know how to decorate our own homes with our own hands. We know, we become resourceful and we're not dependent on others. So anyway, but these are all myths, and they're all designed to distance us from our beauty, our power, and our oneness. Like, I don't know about for you all, but for me, when I started creating, I felt the presence of this divine spirit within me, and I also knew this is in everyone else. And then I say this in my book too, like, what I love lives inside of you. I love creativity. I love it more than anything. It's the most precious, beautiful relationship in my life, and it lives in you. And that means
Yeah.
I love you. We are one. And once you
Yeah.
remember we're one, you know,
Makes life a lot
it's a
easier.
different world. If
Yeah.
we really treated each other like what is most precious to me lives in you. Like
I love
How
that.
we can't see each other as strangers, or us and them, and so yeah, it's very disruptive, and artists have always been, a little disruptive, and but I do think that that is the call of our times as artists. That's my work, going forward. So everything I do will be to honor that universal spirit in us.
I
Mm.
love that.
I
I love
love it
that.
so much.
So are you painting? You've got a book coming out. Tell us some of the other
Yeah.
things that you do in your creative life.
Yeah, this has been an interesting time for me. I love the premise of your podcast. I love the rebloom idea and how we're constantly pivoting, and
Yeah.
there's deaths and rebirths in our one lifetime, and no one ever told me this, and I really appreciate you bringing awareness to this, because yeah, I always heard about my parents would tell me about reincarnation, about how some cultures believe when you die you come back as an animal, or whatever,
Yeah.
but no one ever said you are going to experience many, many deaths in this one lifetime and many rebirths. And I wish someone had told me, because it would be nice to like normalize it, but also to have language for it, because we
Yeah.
don't have, like, I've had friends, and I have done this. You're going through some sort of death, some deconstruction, and you get really quiet and you go internal and you stop talking to people, and you're going through something, but it can
Mhm.
actually offend people because you're not socializing and you're not returning calls. It's like, what if we just had language like she's in her cocoon, or she's in the
Right,
nesting, and I'm
right.
not offended because you haven't responded to me in 3 months, because we feel guilty, but we're breaking parts of us down, and then we're becoming and rebuilding, and I just kind of wish that was normal. So I really appreciate Rebloom. Um but yeah, now I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, I know. Okay. So this phase in my life, I started painting as therapy, as medicine. It became a business. I love the business. Love painting. At this phase in my life, I feel like I'm coming home to creativity for me and for my loved ones. So I am still painting, not as much, but I'm painting like suitcases, and that's for my creative pilgrimage. I'm making morning menus. I'm making little affirmation cards with my friends. It's starting to become more like for me again. And like I'm decorating my home, like painting cabinets and painting the deck and hanging, fabrics. And so I feel like my most recent pivot is creativity has become so much more to me than my business. And for a long time, I was very focused on my business. So it's a different phase of life where it's like, I want to give my friends gifts and painting birthday cakes. And I don't know. It's like, I feel like I'm getting to be a kid again. And it's just, yeah, I've kind of, I don't know, not put money on it as much anymore, and just in my life.
I
And
love
I'm
that.
having so much
I
fun.
I love that, I think sometimes people think of creativity as just a canvas or just
Yeah.
just a piece of, drawing on a paper, but I love that you look at it as the walls in your home or your cabinets or a suitcase or and that we're doing a little remodel right now, and no, I'm not taking photographs, but there's a lot of creativity that has to go into it. I'm looking at colors and
Mhm.
how it all goes together, and it's really kind of fun and joyful just to kind of try to think about all of those things, and it's fun. It's just
It's
fun.
so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way we play at our house, we I decided this is a temple to creativity, because this is actually a story. I was really sad one day because I couldn't go outside, and I can see our beach. I see people playing in the sun, and I got really upset, and I was sitting and I had my eyes closed and just kind of praying, and I heard this question, or it was like, "You can make this your prison or your temple." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make this a temple. I'm gonna make it a temple to
Oh,
creativity."
Yeah.
And then I like started making it a temple, and that's a choice, and so we have a lot of fun. Our design motif is kind of like, will this serve our creative spirit, or does this awaken our creative spirit? So everything we do is very playful, and it's fun. I feel like it connects me to like a whole lineage of our ancestors. This is what they did. They
Yeah.
didn't go to like I don't know what's like Home Goods or wherever. I mean, they just made their own beauty. And so it's fun and and also I can feel my creativity growing as I do this. So everything you do makes your creativity. I bring it into my studio, obviously, but we like to name our rooms like silly names. We call our living room the living womb because someone said it felt like a womb, and I was like, oh my gosh. We have a nest on our deck. We have a tea fort. Like you can have. You can have a lot of fun, and I don't know. I just feel like we could have a lot more fun with our homes and our cars and everything like that. So yeah, not making creativity so small. Like it doesn't have to be a serious piece of art. It can just be your outfit, or it can be whatever delights your heart.
I
That
love it.
feeling of joy. We all deserve it.
We do.
Yeah.
I feel like just how Jessica Swift's her Rainbow books that came out of something very tragic, and then she did it for herself initially, but then it's taken on a life of its own that has served so many people. I
Mhm.
feel like that's going to happen with this book.
I hope
Yeah.
Like
so.
like what you're doing and saying in that book and sharing, I think is going to serve so many people. It's going to take on a life of its own.
I love that about creativity, how it's generative and it just expands in ways that we can never imagine. And yeah, I talk about this too. And when Matisse, um, he was a painter, obviously for decades, and then he just aged. He became old, and I think he had arthritis in his hands or something, and he was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't paint anymore. But he asked, "What can I do with this? What can I make from this?" And then he started collaging, and his collage pieces are like some of his most beloved work. So I also tell that story in the book. But the point is, we can always ask that question, like, what can I make from this?
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget because I forget. I'm not always like great at it. But I love that we have examples from other great figures in history that did not give up. And, we get to be those people now. I always think about my life as like if I was in a book, like a story, like what kind of character do I want to be? I don't want to be the one that just gives up. I want to give up all the time, but then I'm like, no, I don't like that story. I don't like those characters. I want to be the one that carries on, and has hope and doesn't
And
give up.
where's
So
pink? And
And where's
yeah.
and
pink
you are and
flowers.
you
Yeah.
are, and
Yeah.
it's amazing, and, I'm thinking, Lori, about we interviewed Monsi, who was just amazing, and she calls it the ripple of she's a ripple maker, and,
Yeah.
creativity is ripples. I mean, you're
Mhm.
doing it for your own heart and soul. If you
Mhm.
choose to share it with others, that love ripples onto someone else, and then that ripples to someone else, and that's really if we allow that to happen, then we're rippling love
Yeah.
all the way, and that was such a powerful conversation, and what
Mhm.
you're doing is the same. It's and we just had another conversation about self-love. We were talking with Matthew Lyons about self-love, and creativity allows you to fill yourself up with self-love, and once you love yourself, you can then love others in a greater capacity. And that's the beauty of doing things that fill your heart with joy, and whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you awaken that part of you and yourself, it does awaken in others too.
It does.
And also talk about that in the book about, I think it's in the devotion chapter, how devotion and creativity are generative forces, just like love. They take on a life of their own. And I have this great story about my friend Steve, who he became obsessed with plant terrariums and aquariums, and it was just a hobby, but he just I don't know if you've ever felt that where you just have to do something and you can't stop, and there's no sense, there's no logic to it. But
Yes,
eventually
a
he
lot.
had his whole
Yeah.
house. He was being guided by, I think, his spirit. He was listening to his soul and what brought him joy. His house was full of these aquariums, and he couldn't even walk. He said, like, through the rooms. He could not get there. And so he started giving them away. And then people started wanting to buy them. So eventually he opened a little store in Seattle, and he started selling them. He did so well, he quit his job as a scientist. He had a really good job. And then a major retailer who's located in Seattle commissioned him to do all of their businesses, aquariums, this big project, and then do these at the owner's home. I'm not going to say who it is, but they're based in Seattle and they sell a lot of books and other things online. And he ended up being able to take like a year sabbatical in Hawaii. And he said to me, Carrie, I'm living in one of my terrariums now. And I was like, that's,
Wow.
and people say to me, you're living inside one of your paintings. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, because when
Yeah.
you love something and you tend to it, it becomes a home for you. Literally and figuratively, it grows and grows. It takes on a life of its own. And before you know it, it is sheltering you. It is holding you. It becomes bigger than you, and you're living in your devotion and in I think that is magic. Like, I do think creativity is real magic, just the way like the ripple effect. I found Mancy from your podcast. It's like unleashing something out into the universe and you
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know where it's going. And Jessica Swift's rainbows are like that,
Right.
and
Right.
this is
Yeah.
a magical power that we get to have. It is so cool. I can't like I go to the water almost every morning. That's on my menu. And I sing to the water and I pray and I bow and I blow prayers into rocks and then I toss them in the water. And I'm like always looking around like I can't believe we don't all start our mornings in reverence and worship to creativity. Like, why are we not all down here just bowing to this force that moves the tides and, makes the birds sing? And it's a magical power that we get to have. And I know, like, right now, a lot of us feel hopeless because a lot's going on, but this is our power, and beauty is a force that we can create, and it does impact people. So it's a different kind of power. It's not like we're leading the world in visible ways, but this is a power to not take for granted, I think.
It's
So,
amazing.
I think there's so many distractions in people's lives more and more and more.
mhm.
And we just spoke with Matthew, who spent I don't know how many days in silence at different
20, I
retreats.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 days at silent retreats. And,
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
really fascinated to learn about and not even journaling, like
Mhm.
no journaling, no note taking, just being
Being
with
present.
yourself.
Yeah.
And I think people don't take time to just be quiet and just
Yeah.
be in awe and
Mhm.
notice how much beauty there is around us.
Well,
Absolutely.
and, it's interesting too, as you were sharing that too, Carrie, I think we get up in the world and it's often a little scary and it's hard. And the other thing is we're often told no. There's no,
Mhm.
you can't do this, or there's a rule here, or you must follow along in this particular path. The beauty of creativity is it's an ongoing yes.
Mhm.
Yes to whatever you wanna do. If
Yeah.
I mean, if you're selling your work, sometimes there are parameters and things you have to follow, but if you're just being creative for your heart and soul, I mean, paint your house in rainbows, paint your house I mean,
Yeah.
you can do what you wanna do. I bet you're the kind of mom did you let your kids paint on their own walls? I bet you
Yeah, definitely. They would come in
Yeah.
and paint on my studio walls too. I'd see little notes from them and whatnot, but
I love it.
yeah, and I do think also we often, look outside of ourselves and think, um, we have other people are telling us no, but I think we tell ourselves no more
Mhm.
than anyone, and we have all
Yes.
these silent agreements um, that we unconsciously agree to, and we suppress our own selves. Like I've had women say, "Well, I would paint my car, but my husband won't let me," or like we can make up a lot of excuses and no's. So I think really getting to listen in and say, "How am I like holding my creativity back?" Because we restrain that part of us so much, and I know I do too. I mean, and that's the thing at our house is, like, we're always trying to, like, push the rules, like, what are we agreeing to that we don't even know? And, like, one example is we ended up I didn't like our dining room table, like, the level of it. I don't like sitting, like, in this way, so we put it on the ground and we sit on cushions, and it's so cozy and so playful. I feel like a child. We sit on little cushions on our floor, but also it's like, "Oh, this is helping me get up and down." Like, when I'm 80, I wanna be able to get off the floor,
Right,
so it's like
right.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's so, like, intimate and playful. It's like, why does our furniture have to be at this height? Like, who
Right.
said
Yeah,
that?
Right.
yeah.
Why do we have to have furniture? And we took a lot of furniture out of our living room because we wanted to have song circles monthly with our friends. And it's like, yeah, all these silly rules. It's like, wait, why do we have to do this? Or, why do we have to call it this name? Like, it doesn't have to be called a family room or whatever. Like, you can make up so many things. And so we're always kind of pushing that, like, what am I doing that I'm restraining my own spirit? I think
Right.
we've been taught to do it in a lot of ways. So,
We
yeah.
we we have, and you're 100% right, and I think we tell ourselves no, or we say if you find yourself with 20 minutes or an hour and you think, "Oh, I could be doing chores or I could be doing something else," and you make excuses and you say, "Well, I'm not allowed to be creative. That's being selfish of my own time." But I say, "Oh no, you must do like that's more important than the chores probably."
Yeah,
Because, it's okay. It's 100% okay to do that.
That's one of the
definitely.
things I love about the art retreats is that the
Yeah.
women that come, they love that they'll say often, "I don't have the time to devote to this in my daily life."
Mhm.
And the fact that I'm here and I don't have to worry about, laundry or cooking, or I can just focus on art making and creativity,
Mhm.
they go away a different person. Like, the
It's
whole
true.
mood, the spirit is just lifted.
It's so true. Yeah, I think we've been taught to, like, delay joy and, like, we have to do these important, grown-up responsibilities, but we have to reclaim that and just rewrite these stories, and again, these, like, myths, and that's why I love starting my mornings, tending to my spirit. It's like, "You're the priority. You're what I start with," and then that sets my tone for the entire day, and I know, like, there's so many books out there, like Atomic Habits or the 5 a.m. Club, and it's always about, like, mornings achieving, achieving, achieving. You have to get stronger or thinner or write this or do that. And it's like, we don't need to get better at anything. What if we're just like, what if joy? What if that's our the beginning of our day,
Yeah.
or reverence, or a quality that awakens our creativity? Wow, what an incredible way to begin. So yeah, I mean, I hope women learn from, those retreats to just come back and bring some of that back into their lives. It's so
Right,
important.
right,
What an
absolutely.
incredible journey you've had to carry. And, I teach my daughter and my kids, and you say, sometimes things happen for a reason. You kind of hate that in the moment,
Yeah.
but you do really hate it sometimes in the moment. But,
Yeah.
you do wonder about your illness,
Mhm.
that it forced you, almost like the pandemic. I'll equate it to the pandemic for many of us, that forced us to stop. You
Yeah.
were forced to stop. And
Mhm.
look at all the things that people discovered in the pandemic, sourdough bread and art and music and everything. But by you stopping, you've now had this whole life
Mhm.
of creativity that has helped you not only to manage your illness, but given you joy, brought your family joy, brought others joy. I mean, it's just it's a beautiful, powerful. I mean, we're looking at you now. Our listeners won't be able to look at you, but I see joy. I see beauty,
Mhm.
not the person that was sick and ill in her 30s. And
It's a rebirth. I
Yeah.
think
yeah,
of,
It
like,
it
putting your
really was.
head on the picture of that Venus
yeah,
painting, coming out of the
yeah,
shell.
Oh my gosh, it was definitely a death and rebirth, and I didn't
yeah.
understand that at the time, and I didn't have, like, the support systems in place, but yeah, I think we all have gone through that dark night of the soul, and, thank goodness we have creativity,
Thank
thank goodness I
goodness.
found it, but yeah, when the pandemic, I was like, "Oh, I've been through this before,
This is my life.
now
Yeah,
everyone knows what I feel like," I was
yeah.
kinda like,
Yeah.
It
but
does give
yes.
you a different perspective. It does.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was a gift. I mean, I say it was my greatest burden and it's my greatest blessing, and it remains that way. It's both. It's
It's
still so
yeah.
hard, and then I think would I choose this if I could go back, would I have chosen to have that? And absolutely, yes. I feel like it awakened my soul, my spirit. I always felt like something was missing, something was off. Like, I knew there was more. I didn't know what it was. I felt like a part of me was missing. I don't know if other people feel like that. And then it just came alive. So it was a great gift. And I feel like it did direct me on the path that was meant for me. Like, I don't think I chose this path. And looking back, I can see signs that I was meant to do this, but I didn't listen. I just, believed all the stories about, like, I'm not an artist. I can't do this. It's not a real job, And so finally, I feel like I just got the smack down. I feel like I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to take everything away from you and put you in a room and you can't do anything, but create now. Like, what are you going to do? And I also am so grateful that when it was like a death of everything that didn't matter, everything material,
Yeah.
of like job, career, accolades, money, materialism, like none of that could save me. The only thing that mattered and the only thing I could feel this like eternal part of myself. And that was all that was left. That was it. And
That's
so I had to
amazing.
kind of learn the hard way, but hopefully, other people can learn from our stories and maybe not resist what is meant for them. There's this phrase in Greek theology called your daemon. It's your calling. But if you don't listen, it becomes your demon. And that's what happened
Mm.
to me. That is what happened to
Mm,
Mm.
me. Yeah.
I love that.
I
Mhm.
think of those photos of Frida lying in bed in a full
Yeah.
body cast, but she's still painting. And I always thought, wow, what that must have taken for her. But the way to hear you talk about it, that's
It's the
she
same.
had to do that
Yeah.
to keep herself going and
Yeah.
keep herself wanting to stay alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had it rough. Would
Yeah,
Well,
not want her issue or, her injury, and, yeah, I think a lot of people have found creativity in those dark times, thank
yeah,
goodness.
and I
yeah,
think your ability now to have this, to take the time and reflect and write this book is gonna be such a gift to everyone out there, and what a wonderful thing that you've done, and what is it available?
It
Is it
is.
out?
Yes, it's
Yay, where
out,
can
it's available in all the places where you would get books, and it really is, the tradition of pilgrimage is to get closer to the divine, get closer to God, that's the point. And so for this, it's like to get closer to your creativity, to your divine spirit, and to write your own story with it. So to kind of like let go of all these other myths you've been taught about creativity. Most of what we know or we've been taught someone else's ideas, someone else's beliefs, and mostly unhealthy ones. So it's
Yeah,
about, finding your own direct experience with creativity. Write your own story. What is
I love it.
creativity really to you? When you take the time to get to know it and then accept it for what it is. Get to know its personality, get to know its natural laws. It's not linear, it's not predictable, it's wild, it's chaotic, it's on its own timeline. It's bigger than we are, and I think it dwells in the quiet and in the slow, like you were saying, and it's playful and it's joyful and it will never hurt you and it will never judge you. It's like we treat it so unkindly in this culture, and it has never done anything but loved us and given to us. It gives us so many gifts once you understand how it works and then accept it.
I
It's
love
not
that.
gonna be you can't control it, I can't control it. It's so much bigger than we are, and to have reverence for our role, our position in it, where I don't think we're in control of it. So just like
It's
right,
beautiful.
yeah.
right.
Oh, Carrie, this is amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love your podcast. Please keep
Oh,
doing it. Yeah.
we
We
love these
we
conversations.
love stories and hearing people's journeys and yeah,
It
it's become more than I think either one of us expected. We didn't know.
Yeah, I think we thought we were I mean, we did always think we were doing this for others, but it
Mhm.
is our creative outlet too that
Yes.
now it's giving so much to us. I mean, we sit
Yeah,
and have
right.
these conversations and we listen to them a couple of times and we listen as we're chatting and we listen to the podcast again when it comes out and we think,
Mhm.
wow, like this is they're just the powerful words and we hear a lot of things. There's threads that we hear throughout that are just so important that we really hope our listeners will hold on to and believe that they can be creative too. That's the
Mhm.
most important thing, is to find the pivot points, whatever they are, and just to
Yeah.
get out there and do it.
And know that it's okay to pivot.
It's okay to pivot. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say yes. It's okay to
Yeah.
do it's
And it's
okay. It's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it's inevitable. Like, we
Yeah.
can't I personally, I've gone I some when there's changes in my life, I don't always go along willingly, but the minute
Yeah.
I stop resisting
Yeah.
the surrender, it's then things flow, and it's always beyond my wildest imagination. So, yeah,
Right.
I love
Right.
that. It is your podcast is creative and it's generative, and like you said, it's taken on new forms and shapes and impacted so many people. And when you were talking, one of the quotes I love, that reminds me of, creativity is generosity. It's, "The scent always remains on the hand that gives the rose." And so every time we make this, like,
Oh,
offering of creativity, like, you put yourselves out there, it's very vulnerable to do
yeah.
anything creative, whether it's a podcast or tell a story or do a painting. But when we give and offer our creativity in any form, the scent of that remains on us, we get benefit from it. So I just think that's such a beautiful
That is beautiful.
reminder. Yeah.
Yes. Well, your hands must smell beautiful because the scent of the rose is on you, and we certainly hope that it's on us, huh, Laura? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we hope we can do that as well. And thank you, Carrie, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I
Thank
Yeah.
was so
you.
excited to talk about the book, and I appreciate you all for supporting artists and creatives. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.
You know I love you.
Oh, I love
Well,
you
You're a
thank you so
too.
beautiful
much.
person.
You
Yeah,
both
thank you. And
inspire
we'll
me.
share where everybody can get the book. And to our listeners, peace, love, and rebloom. Yay. Okay. Um, Lori, our listeners are in for a really special treat. Now, I say that all the time, but really, I mean, this is the most amazing conversation with someone who has been dealt a hand that maybe some would think was not fair at all, but she's taken that and turned it into a beautiful creative life.
Yeah, I mean, I just am so inspired by Carrie. She was hit with something very devastating and could have just crumbled and
Yeah,
just decided, no, I'm not going to go on. But instead, something spoke to her, which is creativity. And
yeah.
now she is so devoted to that. I've seen it in person when I've taught alongside her. And now that she's sharing it with the world through this new book, I just can't wait for everyone to hear this conversation.
Enjoy, listeners, our beautiful conversation about creativity with Carrie Schmidt. Yay.